Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe Beck, and I'm going to do my June 2022 TBR. So, I had this plan. I was just going to put the 3 books that are on my core TBR. So these are the 3 books that for sure I'm going to read. They're the only obligations I'm going to say I'm definitely going to read. But as the last couple days have kind of proved, I started stacking up books that I'd like to read. So, I have a big pile of possibilities as well. So I have quite a few books to talk to you about. So let's start with the core 3. These are the ones that I will for sure read no matter what, because they are all buddy reads. So quite a few for me, actually. So the first one is the next book in the Hidden Legacy series by Ilona Andrews. This is Wildfire. I'm reading this with Tia and all the books. We've been reading a lot of Ilona Andrews. We read all the Kate Daniels series last year. This year we were reading the Hidden Legacy. And I'm really enjoying this series. This is book 3. So we're following Nevada, who lives in a alternate Texas or timeline kind of thing where magic came about in the 1800s. So there are magical families that are called houses. She is not part of one. She's a private investigator, but she works for one. And she is forced to, in the first book, Burn For Me, is forced to go after one of the primes, one of the guys with the most magic, and stop him from wreaking havoc. And then this is just a great urban fantasy about the people in her life and the ones that she meets along the way. And the books just keep getting better, I think. So I really like book 2. Really excited to see what happens in book 3. So this one has where the first trilogy, there's a first trilogy that follows Nevada. And then there's a middle book that I'm not sure who it follows because I haven't looked at it yet, but there's like a little novella. And then there's another trilogy with 3 books. Duh, of course, but it follows one of her sisters from this book. So it'll be kind of interesting to see the progression of this series. But right now in June, we're gonna finish the series up with Wildfire. So I'm looking forward to that with the first trilogy. We'll finish the first trilogy this month. I will be continuing my reading, my buddy read of Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Burnished Bookish Adventures put together a group on Instagram to read this over May and June. So we're not too far into it. We started kind of mid-May, so we should finish this about the end of June. So this is a fantasy where 2 sisters, it's pretty much following them, although there's a lot of POVs, a lot of different characters, but we're following mostly these 2 sisters who, one was brought up knowing she was going to marry the God King, and the other one who didn't have those kind of responsibilities, and at the last minute, their father decides for political reasons to send the younger child instead of the other one. And then kind of what happens because of that decision, and also things that were going on politically before that, we get to see when the younger sister goes to the Capitol, and then all the things going on there, which has all these interesting magical things that I didn't know about with breath and color and returned, and again the God King himself. It's weird. It's going really interesting. So we're going to continue that and finish that in the end of June. And then Burner and I are also going to read Valet together. So by Charlotte Bronte. This is one of the last books of the Bronte sisters I need to read. I just need to read The Professor as well, which I'll probably read in Victober because it's pretty short. So hopefully I'll get these all done and I'll be done. And then I could probably read some biographies because I don't want to be spoiled for anything. So anyway, Valet, I don't know a whole lot about this. I just know it has to do with a woman who goes to be a teacher at a boarding school that's out of England. I'm not sure where Valet is. I'm not sure. I think that's the name of the town. So I'm sure there's drama and everything. We're going to read 2 chapters a day to get done in the first 3 weeks of June. So we're going to start that on the 1st. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then the rest of these books are all books I want to read. Like, as I said, I was gathering these, and the more and more I wanted to read them. I have 2 pre-orders coming in on the 7th of June. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to read both of these this month. But again, it's just possibilities. I could change my mind, but I'm fairly certain I'll get to these. So one of them is For the Throne by Hannah Whitten, is the second book in the Wilderwood series. For the Wolf was the first one, and I read it last year and loved it. I might reread this actually, so this might happen first. maybe right before this book comes out. I really want to read this. This is duology. So it's a world where it's unusual for two daughters to be born to the royal family. And this one, this says one daughter is for the throne, the second is for the wolf. And in this book, we follow the one who is sent to the wood into the wolf, and nothing that she went there to save, by doing this actually is true, and it's all very twisted, but it's cool little kind of fairy tale-esque in some ways, and it went in directions I did not expect. The ending was phenomenal, and I really wanted this book which wasn't out yet, so I would say read them back to back, because that's what I'm probably gonna do, because that was hard not to have the second book. Anyway, so For the Throne follows the other sister and what happens to her, and I'm really unsure how this is going to go, because the tone is going to be very different from this one because of what happens at the end of the book. I'm just not sure how it's going to go. I'm really excited for this, and again, I probably will reread this, so we'll see what happens. So I'm really excited to get to that pre-order quickly. The other one is Wicked Beauty by Katie Roberts. So this is book 3 in the Dark Olympus series, which I have started reading this year. And I really enjoyed Neon Gods and Electric Idol. They're some of the best books I've read this year. Anyway, they were really fun. I really enjoyed them. So I'm really looking forward to this one. This one's has a trio, Helen, like Helena Troy, Achilles, and Patroclus. And so it's in a kind of a mafia world, high stakes, power hungry people in Olympus. And so it has the Greek gods kind of things, but those are kind of titles. The names, they're not actually, it's not quite the same. But it's really good. I love the series so far. I want to see where it goes. So I will probably read that one as well, because it's fun and a lot of smut. Very good. Anyway, and then I have a couple of books that I just want to read. So Challenge by Vita Sackville West. I meant to read this last year. I don't know how many TBRs I had this on. I wanted to read this so bad. I discovered her books last year by reading All Passion Spent, and then a couple books on her, by her son, and a couple other things that I've read that have mentioned her. And I've just read a book that mentioned her again, and I'm like, I need to read her books. And so I have quite a few of her novels still to read. But this is the one I really want to read, because this is the book that she pulled from being printed because it was just too autobiographical kind of ways, even though she's changed it around, and because she was quite wild. Anyway, so I think this has to do with a man and a woman who meet in the Greek Isles and things that ensue. I'm not quite sure anything beyond that, but I want to read that. I do want to get back to Working for the Devil by Lila St. Crow. This one, I started the first book in the Dante Valentine series in a bind-up, and I had to wait till I got individual books because my wrists and hands just could not hold the bind-up for too long. So this is an urban fantasy in a kind of dystopian-ish world kind of thing, where she's a necromancer and she's gone through all the training, and so she's licensed and everything. And it looks kind of like our world, but there's like a lot of differences. But she is hired by the devil to find somebody, and that is a whole thing. Anyway, so I got about 100 pages in when I had to put it down because of bind up the book that was hurting my wrist. So I hope to continue this series. I have read this book and one other book about 10 years ago. I'd really like to reread those, and so I do have another reread. Anyway, and so I do want to reread those hopefully this month to continue that series and then finish it out. So we'll see what happens. I want to read the next book in the Book The Order series by Philippa Ballantyne. Wraith is the next one. So this again is a fantasy, really short fantasy, but very dense series about deacons who are magic users who help the populace by holding off creatures of like geists and wraiths and things like that are out, they're kind of spirits, kind of things that are bad. And also there's a lot of kind of other dimensional gods and things that are trying to break in and to take over the world. So it's been very explosive, the endings of both the other two books. This is book 3. I'd like to get to this if I don't get to it. I don't think I'm going to get to it by the end of May. So I'm hoping to get at least this one done in June. I have one more book after that. It's only a 4-book series, so I'd like to finish this fairly soon. But I want to at least get book 3 done. I'd also like to read book 2 in the Custard Protocol series by Gail Carriger. This is Imprudence. I read Prudence in April, and May I just didn't get to this. So this is another alternate history, steampunk, Victorian times, urban fantasy, following the kids of the people who were in the Parasol Protectorate, starting with Solus, the other series. This one's just fun romps. They're traveling around the world in a dirigible for certain reasons, and things just never go the way they want it to. And I did really enjoy rereading book 1 because I had read that when it first came out, and then I didn't read any other one. So I want to finish this 4-book series this summer, so I need to read book 2. I've been staring at this and hoping to get to this historical fiction. I was hoping to get to it in May, just never popped up in my head to really do it. So that's why it ended up on this list, is The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper. So this is the first book in a trilogy, I think, about Pompeii and a brothel house there. So I think this is talking about Amara, who is sold, I think, to the brothel house, and when her family goes on hard times. So I don't know exactly what happens in this. I know book 2 is already out, so I'd like to read this and see if I want to continue the series. So that sounds good. And then the last 2 books are my booktube spin books that I haven't got to for this quarter. The first one is Hall of Smoke by H.M. Long. I've been wanting to read this for over a year, almost a year and a half since it came out, and I bought it. And I've been wanting to read this. So this is kind of Norse, you know, I don't know if it's mythology inspired, but at least like weather-wise, I think it's Norse. It has to do with a priestess who is told to kill somebody. And she doesn't do it. She doesn't think it's the right thing to do. And then there's consequences for her disobeying. And then I think she goes on a quest of some sort. So I know that there's a companion novel out already. There might be another one coming up. Can't remember for sure. But I want to read this book. It's been on my TBR for a year and a half, and I really want to read to this. And again, it's on my booktube spin. I need to try this. And then the other book is The Coward by Stephen Aaron. So I think this is a duology. I think the second book is coming out in the summer. But this follows a man who, when he was young, he went on a quest, and he was the only one who came back alive. And he doesn't like to talk about what happened because it didn't go well. And then I think 10 years later, he's kind of, you know, obscure and everything. And then something happens that that he's kind of forced back into probably having to fight against the same evil that something happened 10 years ago, I think. I'm pretty sure it was 10 years. Anyway, so I've heard really good things about this from a lot of people. It's on my booktube spin. I need to get to these. They're supposed to be done by the end of June. We'll see what happens. So, again, the only books I have to read this month are my buddy read books, because I will be reading them with other people, and I want to read all of them, so that's good. And then everything else is just, let's see what we do. I'm kind of excited, as I said, for most of them, or I'm really excited for all these. Something else could pop up that I'm not thinking about that I want to read, but we'll see. As I said, I'm letting myself really mood read, and it really has worked in April and May. Just letting myself, as I said, really, really just let myself read whatever I want. And again, I'm really in a big urban fantasy mood. So again, I didn't put a lot of urban fantasy on my list here because I just have a feeling that I'm probably going to pick up stuff and I just don't know what it's going to be. So I mean, I did put one series, but I mean, other than the buddy read, but you know what I mean. So many books, so little time. So anyway, are any of these books you think I definitely need to pick up, prioritize them and get to them? Let me know. What are you guys reading in June? Anything good? Any good buddy reads? Let me know. And I do want to say I'm not doing any readathons this month. I've decided I just don't want to deal with any of the stress. I think I'm just going to let myself go for a little bit, not doing any, at least not for June. So if something pops up, I'll do it. But I really am not doing any readathons, just in case you wanted to know. So anyway, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.